Last night I watched one of my most anticipated films of 2025, Superman, and I was absolutely floored by this film. I don't think it's perfect by any means, but it is as close as it gets when putting a comic book to the big screen. First off, I think David Cornsweet as Superman is absolutely perfect, and I think everything about his character, the way he holds himself, the way that he expresses himself, and the way that he is so forward in just hope and not being dismissive of evil, but just seeing the good in people. And I think that is just something that Superman has lacked in many recent adaptations. Rachel Brosnahan, Nicholas Hoult, every single performance across the board is absolutely amazing. I think the world building at times can get a little bit jarring, and that is just the pacing overall. It feels like a comic book come to life, but that also comes with the negatives of it is a film and it kind of feels episodic rather than one long 3-act structure movie. It feels more similar to Peacemaker as a James Gunn project than any of the Guardians films. On a visual level, it also feels like a comic book just because of how dynamic it is, and I personally really like that. The way I like to describe it is it's all the amazing visual, very small moments that The Flash has, but it's just all throughout the film. It's a much more polished film. It knows that it's trying to do something and it does exactly that, whereas The Flash just overall feels so messy. In my opinion, why the DC films work, whether it's a DC EU, DC Elseworlds, or now the DC Universe film, is they always feel like a comic book come to life, but it's always in the execution that they mess up. The best executed one thus far has been The Batman, in my opinion, and I think Superman has just topped that in terms of feeling like a true comic book. I do have some very small flaws with the film. I think Lex Luthor is very hateable, but just very one-dimensional. I think the week-to-week style of villains and how the story evolves kind of works at the film's detriment just because the power scaling doesn't really make any sense. The people of Metropolis are just sitting around eating ice cream when there's a fire-breathing kaiju about to kill them. It just makes the stakes a lot less than they actually are. And finally, there's just a lot going on. There's a multiversal subplot, there's a Lex Luthor subplot, there's a Mr. Terrific subplot. There's just so much happening that as a comic book fan, I really loved it, but I just don't know how general audiences will react to this. Personally, I really enjoyed it.